Dice Tower Tonight, episode 40.
Big con, small con.
Welcome to Dice Tower Tonight, a video cast about board games and card games, and especially the people who play them. On tonight's show, we're back in our home turf with a quick recap of Dice Tower West and some recent games played. Plus, I have a brainy challenge for Crystal. We discuss the merits of small conventions, and we chat with the audience live. I'm Eric Summerer, and joining me now, the Kira to my Odo, Crystal Pisano.
You know I'm always about the Star Trek references, and that's a good one.
It's always a safe one to go to, you know? Like, what do I use? Okay, here's a
and
good
what's funny is there are a whole bunch that you haven't used yet, so we could do this for a while.
It's good to have a backlog, I think.
Definitely. Well, it's been a whole week and a half since I've seen you in person, Eric.
I know. I mean, it was... Thank you to anyone who tuned in to our ridiculousness 2 weeks ago. It was an interesting challenge trying to find a place to do a live show. We had grand plans.
We were so organized, I swear. And then everything fell apart 15 minutes before the stream, and then also after we started the stream.
Yes, it did. But so very zany. But it's good to be back in our home areas. I had a great time at Dice Tower West. I think there were, some minor hiccups for the first time in a brand new area and the first time with the Dice Tower banner. And but overall, I think things went really well. Everybody I talked to was having a good time. I had a great time. In fact, the worst thing is that I had to leave early. I had to go back to see my son in a play. I wanted to go back and see my son in a play. And so I took the red eye home so I could see his Sunday matinee show. So it felt very strange on Saturday to be watching everybody playing games. And to me, it was like, I've got like 3 hours and then I'm out of here. But everyone else is still Saturday. Yes, it's our last big day. Let's keep playing all night long. And I had to wave and say goodbye.
And there were definitely some people who were playing all night long. I know of at least one person on Sunday who got into a game, and the people they were playing with had to be like, "So you're lovely, but you need to go take a nap because you haven't slept in 3 days." So I think people were definitely enjoying themselves because they did not want to leave the convention center.
Oh yeah, I mean that's always a difficult decision. When you're in a big convention, especially one you've traveled to. Is it how late do you stay up? You feel like if you're not playing games, you're wasting time. And if you're having a nice meal somewhere, you're wasting time. But you really do need to take that break, walk away from the table, take care of yourself, sleep. It's because it's going to make the rest of the time so much nicer.
That's definitely something I've learned as I've started to go to more conventions is that self-care is very important. The games will be there after the convention ends to some degree.
Yes.
And all of the gameplay is more enjoyable when I'm well rested and fed. And honestly, I'm just a more pleasant person when I've slept and eaten. So yes. I think it's for me and everyone else.
Absolutely. So highlight, can you think of one thing in particular that was like the best thing from Dice Tower West?
It's going to sound cliche at this point because I know it's the thing that everybody is talking about, but I finally got to play Wingspan, and it was just as lovely as I wanted it to be. So I think, and I played it twice at the convention. Like I played it the first time and I was like, ooh, that was real good. And I was like, but I got to play it again, just in case. Because sometimes your first gameplay, you're really into a thing, you play it again and you're like, oh, it's not. No, it's just as great as I wanted it to be. And as everyone says it is, it's wonderful. And I cannot wait to own a copy of it for myself. I'm probably going to wait till the third printing comes out in May. But I'm very excited to own it. So what was your number one big highlight of the con?
Oh boy. I think I really liked the live show, our live top 5 get that out of my face items, which you can hear, you can see it on video here on the Dice Tower channel. You can also hear it as a podcast episode 597 of the Dice Tower. And what I always love it when we can get the whole group together, Mandy, Suzanne, Tom, Z, Sam, and me, when we can all interact. And I think for one time, we had fun with each other. We razz each other and rib each other a lot, but it's all in good fun. And there was no one person that was getting picked on. Everybody got a little bit of razzing, and everybody got a little zinger in on everybody else, and it felt like a family hanging around and just chatting about games. And it was one of the best experiences recording a live show that I've had in recent memory.
I did not get to watch live while you all recorded, but I did listen to the podcast episode after the fact, and it definitely sounded like you all were having a lot of fun. And it was funny because prior to the convention, Tom had said to me, like, we would love to have you and Ambi up there as well, but at a certain point, we will not have time to do everybody's lists. But I'm going to wiggle my way into one of these live top 5 or top 10 lists at some point.
Yes.
I keep saying I'm just going to show up in Florida and record a top 10 list with them. That's mostly a joke, only because Florida is so far from here, but I'm going to do it someday, Tom. I know you're not actually watching this, but someday.
Just going to show up. I've suggested me doing that too, and it took a lot of doing for me to even get down there. But I did hear you are coming to Gen Con. Is that true?
That is true. I am coming to Gen Con with you all. I'm going to be working in the Dice Tower booth, and it is my very first time going to Gen Con. So it's funny because people assume the people working in board game content creation have kind of done all of the things. And that's, for me, not necessarily true, at least when it comes to larger conventions. I have never been to Gen Con. I've never been to Origins, never been to Essen. All of these things are obviously on my list of things I would like to do, but there's a lot of board game conventions, and especially living on the West Coast, the ones that are like in the middle of the country or on the East Coast, I have to kind of pick and choose because I lose an entire day just traveling on the front end. So it makes it hard. But yeah, I'm going to be at Gen Con for the first time ever, and I am beyond excited with just a teeny tiny bit of like sadness because that means I won't be at the Star Trek convention here in Las Vegas. They're always at the same time.
That stinks. But if you're going to be there, we're doing a show at Gen Con. Probably the most intimidating show that we do in the convention calendar because it's in the giant ballroom in the convention center with like 1,100, 1,200 people. But I think we could probably bring you on stage for something.
I love a crowd. I'm outgoing and I am not afraid to embarrass myself.
Okay.
So I'm in for whatever y'all need. Right. Count me in.
I think we'll have to find something. I know Tom hasn't even thought about what we're doing yet. But I'll put in a good word for you.
I know the singing shows are not really as much of a thing anymore, but you and I could just start karaokeing Weird Al Yankovic on stage.
You never know. Okay, now you talked about highlights. You and I, with a whole group of people, went karaokeing at Dice Tower West. This is another fantastic experience. And yes, we did play Weird Al songs. Not only did we play the original music and sing the Weird Al lyrics, but this system had Weird Al songs in it with all the proper Weird Al lyrics, which was not something I'd never seen before in a karaoke system. So
yeah,
thumbs up.
And we weren't the only ones doing Weird Al. Other people admittedly, that just shows how nerdy our group was, but I've never been to a karaoke night that was this much Disney, show tunes, and Weird Al music.
Yes, and topped off with the Pokemon theme. It was...
Oh my gosh, right.
It was an incredible evening. We're going to have to sell tickets. This might be a Kickstarter thing we have to do at some point.
So I actually was considering... I don't know if I'll be able to organize it, but in theory, I'd like to talk to Tim about seeing if there is a dedicated space and if we could actually run karaoke at the convention, like rent some equipment and then run karaoke at the convention so we don't have to go off site. I don't have no promises, nobody get their hopes up too high, but I think there would be enough interest for something like that.
I don't care what you say. My hopes are high and I will be expecting this to happen.
Okay, well, I guess it's happening then. Really, it'll be a matter of, do we have a room that we can have loud music playing in without being bothersome to our own convention attendees, other people in the convention center or hotel. But assuming we can find a space, it is something that I think would be a neat addition to the con and would be unique because I don't think most smaller conventions have a karaoke room.
I don't think so, no. Anyway, we should probably get to some game talk. What do you think, Crystal? What have you been playing lately?
So I haven't actually played a lot of games since the convention ended. My body went into reboot mode last week and I kind of was just chilling out. But I wanted to talk about one game that I played at the convention. Unfortunately, since I don't own a copy, I can't show it off here. The name of the game is a little bit elusive. If you were to look it up on Board Game Geek, it is called Desktop Hibokan Battle Kit. And on the box of this game, it's in Japanese. It's a Japanese game from the publisher Pen and Dice. But on the box in English, it says Crappy Robot Battle. And I saw that and I was like, I don't even know what this is, but I'm in. Basically, the most broad way to explain this game is if you took Patchwork and Robo Rally and you mashed them together, shoved them in a box, and that game only took 15 minutes to play. That is what Crappy Robot Battle is. So basically, you draft polyominoes from a circle just like you do in Patchwork, but you don't get to place them when you draft them. Everyone drafts in turn order until all of the pieces are gone, and you've been piling them up on your board in front of you. So you can't really see how things fit together at all. It's all in one big pile. And then you have a timer. You have to construct your, I think it's actually your computer chip or your
right, like a motherboard.
Circuit board, yeah. You have a certain amount of time to construct it, and you're pulling all the pieces apart, putting them together, and going, "Oh no, I drafted all the wrong pieces. None of these fit together the way I anticipated." Time runs out, and then you have a small board in the middle of the table where everyone has a tiny little plastic robot. The board is pretty small. I want to say it was like a 4x4 grid, so only 16 squares, maybe 5x5. It's pretty small. And what you take little metal nuts and you place them on your circuit board in action spaces that are on the tiles you drafted to do certain actions. And those actions could be moving your robot on the center board in a certain direction, or it could be turning your circuit board. So if your circuit board is facing you, you might turn it 90 degrees. So the next time you take an action to move your robot, it'll actually move in a different direction because all of the arrows on your circuit board match up with where your robot is on the main board. So if you turn your circuit board, the robot will move in a different direction. It's kind of hard to explain without visuals, but basically you have a lot of different actions that you can take. And when your robot gets shoved off the board by another robot, you're out of the game. And it's the last robot standing who wins. Or there are points that you're accumulating as well. So I imagine that there is a potential other condition to end the game, but we didn't get that.
But who cares about that? No.
Right. No, it's such a small board that you're inevitably running yourself off the board or someone else is pushing you off nearly immediately. And it's just the best. I loved it so much. And you can order, someone told me it's in the Board Game Geek store for $68, which is a lot for this game. And I looked online, and you can actually order it direct from the publisher, Pen and Dice, online for about $40. That's translated from current yen into American dollars, although I don't know what the shipping cost is.
Yeah.
It's just $40 for the game itself. I mean, I'm considering paying that much to get it because it was really fun. And I like quick, silly games like this. So that was Crappy Robot Battle, aka Desktop Hibokan Battle Kit.
Wow. So you would prefer this over Robo Rally or say Volt?
So I've never played Volt, and I'm not a huge fan of Robo Rally, although that's said with a caveat because I haven't played Robo Rally since probably 2007. It's been a long time since I last played Robo Rally. And I remember specifically when I used to play Robo Rally, I was always the person who thought I had everything planned out and mitigated for different scenarios. And all of a sudden my robot is on the conveyor belt again. And I'm just everything is wrong. And I just could never get anything working in that game. So I don't know, maybe I'm better at programmed movement now and I would be better at it. But regardless, this one was great.
Yeah. Well, it certainly sounds like this is shorter.
Very much
15,
so.
20 minutes. Robo Rally can be at least an hour, even with a good board. So
yeah. And then I wanted to show off something that people have mentioned in the chat in past episodes. I talk pretty often about my quiver, which holds a lot of small board games, and I actually showed it off during my live Q&A at the end of last month here on the Dice Tower. So some people got to see it then, but just in case anyone missed that Q&A, I wanted to show you all what is in my quiver, aka lots of games. And this is one of the things that I carried around with me at the convention nearly all the time, because it has so many games in it and they kind of fit so many different scenarios. I'm going to attempt to show this off without spilling everything.
Dumping it all over the place.
So one thing I did before the convention is I actually laminated some of my roll and write games, which ended up being very helpful. So like I laminated Doppelt So Clever because I figured some people would want to play that. It's not released in America yet, and that was the case. I got to teach that to some people. I also laminated Blocks, the Tetris style game. I think I've mentioned it on this show or a different one before. And then I also laminated Knock Mall, also hard to get in America, so I figured that might be popular. And last but certainly not least, 21, another roll and write game that is also difficult to get in the States. Well, not difficult, but it's not widely available here. Got to go to German Amazon for a lot of these. So lots and lots of laminated sheets in here with some dry erase markers. And then honestly, just a lot of other games. I have, let's see if I can run through them super quick. Most of them. I have Wordsy. I have High Society. I have Red 7. I have but Werfel Bonanza. I have Circle the Wagons. Hanami Koji. The Mind. Herbaceous. No Thanks. Sprawlopolis, 2 Keyforge decks. Let's see what else. I know I've got some other ones I'm missing. Oh, and then I've Ganz Schön Clever, and then Doppelt So Clever, the other ones I talked about earlier. That might be close to it. There's probably 1 or 2 hiding at the bottom down there that I've forgotten. But it all fits in this one little case, and it is the best thing for conventions, because then I can just sling this over my shoulder and have cooperative games, competitive games, 2-player games, games for larger groups, all in one little spot. I love it so much. And I highly recommend, not only is the Quiver super helpful, but the company who makes it is lovely, and they have great customer service. They're on Twitter, they're at Quiver Time. And they're very responsive and they're very helpful. And you can buy their stuff directly from Amazon. And it comes from them, but you can buy it through Amazon. So that's nice too. But yeah, a lot of people had asked about my Quiver multiple times. So I just wanted to show you all what was in it currently. And I don't switch out tons of the games in here. Like a lot of this is now standard for me, but occasionally I'll throw in something else. I actually had Sentient in here for a little while, which took up a little bit of space, but I was surprised I could fit it in there as easily as I did. So
Quivers are awesome. I've got a black one, and I've been looking at the purple because it's so cool.
It's nice. I like it a lot. I mean, if people weren't aware that I liked the color purple by now, I'm pretty sure.
Huh. Interesting. Well, I've got a couple games to talk about. One of which I played with my kids, and the other I'm going to play with you, Crystal. But we'll get to that in a second. The first is called Action Cats.
Oh.
We were at a small local convention this past weekend, and I bring my kids to this. We'll get to that in a little bit as well. And this was one of the play-to-win games at this con. So my son saw it and saw, ooh, cats, let's play this, Dad, and pulled it out. And we ended up winning it, I think partially because we were one of the few people that played it. In Action Cats, it's a party game for, I don't know what the number of players is here. It's 3 to 6 humans, it says on the back.
So you cannot actually play it with cats. I like that they're clear about that.
Yes. It's a 15 to 30 minute game. So you've got a whole big old stack of cards, most of which are backwards right now. Interesting. Thanks, children, for putting this back together in a great manner. Okay, so the front side of the cards all have cute pictures of cats on them. Various varieties of cats. Hello. And upside down cats. Adorable, adorable cats. Now, on the back side are story elements. you get basically two halves of a sentence. So this one says, "This cat throws the most amazing parties." And then you flip it over and it says, "And a statue is being erected in their honor." Okay. Um, so what happens is that one of these cats is put in the center, and there's one judge for the round. You play 9 rounds because it's a game about cats, and there are
Of
9
course.
lives.
Of course.
So the first judge puts out a cat, and they have to name the cat. So you look at this cat, and you're like, "This is Mr. Twinkletoes." And you put Mr. Twinkletoes in the center of the table. Now, everybody else has their hand of 4 cards, and they have to choose one of the black side of the cards and one of the white side. This is what the cards look like. So I have to choose one white and then a different card to use the back side. So now I'm combining 2 related sentences. And there are also some, you can't really see it here, there's some gray text. Anytime there's gray text, you can adjust to be a different word. So you can sort of customize your answer. You then present it to the judge, and they choose one that they like, and you're playing apples to apples. It's apples to apples, but it's using 2 cards. And then you continue playing until you've done 9 rounds, and whoever has the most cards in front of them wins the game. That's it. That's the game. That's it. They give you some blank cards to, here's one, which I didn't realize when we first started playing. So I got this in my hand, and oh, look. It's so
exciting.
It still has a cute cat on the back, but so you can write your own stuff, your own statements if you want, or you can remove those cards so that you them in the midst of gameplay. I'm torn here because, in one sense, it's apples to apples. Like how many games do we need that have that same mechanism? You present something to a judge.
No more. That's the answer to that question.
If you talk to anybody that's making them, the answer is one more. We need one more, and it's this one, you know? On the other hand, my son had a blast with this game. They played this half a dozen times over the course of the weekend. You know, we played it like twice before we won it, and then we won it, and they showed it to everybody they knew. Anytime they had a few extra minutes, they wanted to play Action Cats with a bunch of people. So yeah, it works. I mean, there is a place for these style of games. They're easy to teach. They were quick. They're simple. It's cute, and you get some chuckle-worthy comments when you combine some of these cards. So my son is all over this. It's his new favorite game. It's a pass for me just because I don't need to play apples to apples again. However, it's sticking around because it's his new favorite game.
So, do your kids play apples to apples?
No.
Have they ever?
No.
So that might be part of the appeal. Like apples to apples is a solid party game. I think most.
Yeah.
I would probably not most. I would say a lot of adults and kids have played it at some point, myself included. Like my friends and I played that back when I was in college forever ago. But so I would imagine that potentially if your kids had played apples to apples, the appeal of this game would maybe be lessened because it would be, oh, it's like that other game that we already have. But since it's new for them, that's probably why they like it so much.
Yeah, that's probably the case.
I mean, and also cute cats.
You can't underestimate the power of cute cats.
I mean, I'm not a cat person. I'm a dog person, as everyone knows. And I'm like deathly allergic to cats, but I get that everybody else thinks they're adorable. So
that was the game that my youngest, my 7-year-old, was really excited about. One that my oldest son, the 11-year-old, has been very excited about is one he got for Christmas this year, and that is Brain Games: The Game. This is based on a National Geographic television show from the National Geographic Channel. This came out a few years ago, so it's not a brand new game. Let's see, 2015. Copyright 2015 National Geographic Society. Brain Games is a television series. You can see it on Netflix, I believe, where they sort of explore how your brain works, how it can be fooled. There's a lot of optical illusion talk, a lot of psychology discussed in the program. It's a very fast-paced, entertaining show. And
I've seen it, but it's been a while. But I think I've seen a couple of episodes at least.
Okay. So, I mean, you'd be familiar with at least the general concept of the types of questions that would be asked. This is, at its core, a trivia game. You've got a board, and it's a puzzle board, so this is only 1/4 of it. You'll put this whole thing together somehow. That's your first challenge, is to, I don't know. So anyway, it makes a big old hex grid, and you spread out a bunch of hex tiles, these things, that have, well, this one says lose a turn, my favorite mechanism in games. But it also has a bunch of symbols that represent different categories of questions. So you're moving around the board. You roll and move your little generic pawns around the board, and you reveal these tokens, and that reveals what category you are going for. Your ultimate object is to get one of each category of question complete. It is, however, possible to, if you get categories that you've already acquired, you can turn in any 2 tokens to choose your category for the next question. So you get a little bit of focus. You don't get the whole Trivial Pursuit thing where you just can't manage to get the stupid pie piece to answer the question. Anyway, the categories are logic, language, vision, and mind and body. And once somebody has achieved 1 token of each of those 4 categories, they win the game. So, my challenge for you, Crystal, is we're going to do 1 question from each of the categories. And we're going to see how you do. And let's make this a cooperative game. If you feel you need help from the chat, you can call for help from the chat. How's that?
Ooh. Okay, well, I'm going to cover up the chat temporarily then, because I don't want, if I have a lifeline, I don't want to cheat and use it, early.
Let's call the chat a lifeline. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to begin with a logic question. So when in the game, you'd have another player draw the card from the stack, and usually show you an image. Sometimes the image helps, sometimes it doesn't. In this particular case, I would read, "Quick! Imagine that you're running in a race, and you just passed the person in second place. What place are you in now?"
First.
No.
Oh no, you're in second. Oh.
So it's stuff like that.
Okay.
You'd get full. So I can't give you credit for that one.
Nope.
All right.
As soon as I said it too, I was like, wait.
But that's the whole thing. Your brain's like, oh yeah, I'm in first now. No, you're not. You haven't passed first.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do a language. So some of these are head to head, where you would then play with another player. You'd call somebody out and say, all right, we're going to challenge each other, and whoever wins the challenge actually gets the token. We're still just playing with you, and you can ask for help if you want. So.
Okay.
What does this word puzzle depict? What common phrase?
Scrambled eggs.
There you go. Exactly, because it's the word eggs all mixed up.
Yeah.
Well done.
At first I was like 4 eggs, and I was like, that's not a thing. So I was like, oh, never mind. Because it's funny, my brain immediately goes, okay, that's the word eggs. And I somehow like get past the part where they're mixed up because I've already figured it out, if that makes sense.
So that was one of the language cards. So far you got the language, but you didn't get the logic. This next one is vision. I'm going to show you the card. When you see it, tell me which one of these faces has not been altered.
Oh gosh. Okay, hold on. You're gonna have to talk to move the camera back to you.
Which one of these faces has not been altered?
Am I allowed to see them face up? Because right now they're upside down.
Yeah, I think that's the point, is that they're upside down. So you have to tell me which one has not been altered.
Oh, I see. Hold on. Okay.
So I'm talking again to make sure that this is on.
So the guy in the red shirt is the correct answer, I think.
The guy in the red shirt is the one that has not been altered. And you'd notice, if I turned it right side up, that all of these people look super creepy. Because, the guy in the red shirt is fine, but everybody else's smiles have been flipped over. That's
and
my new.
His eyes are too.
That is my new profile pic right there. Hello, look into my eyes. That's creepier than that Beethoven thing I've got. Okay, anyway, yes, well done.
I was trying to be quiet so it wouldn't switch over to me.
I mean, which is creepier? Is it Beethoven? Hello. Okay, anyway.
Beethoven should eat the guy on the card.
Maybe we'll do that later. Okay. Very good. You've got 3 out of the or you got 2 out of the 3 so far. The last one is mind and body. Now, most of these are physical challenges in the game, which we can't really do. Sometimes you're like holding the card up and you've got to catch it with 2 fingers, or you've got to do some sort of touching your nose and touching your fingers around. What I did was, this is a language challenge that is about the body. So I'm
Okay.
going to, here's your illustration, although it's not really important. So if you were here, I would ask you to answer all of these questions by pointing to something on the figure. Since you can't
Okay.
really do that, it wouldn't work with the webcam. You can just name what it is. Every answer is some sort of part of the body.
Okay.
Okay? So, a baby cow.
Your calf.
Exactly. A unit for measuring distance.
Leg?
No.
Um, I'm like running.
The stream's still yelling calf right now. Ah,
Oh,
the stream does have it. Stream got it.
uh,
A lot of people in the stream got it.
is it bad that the thing I thought of was how you measure scotch in fingers? Like, that's the thing that came to my mind.
Uh-huh.
Because you measure leg, like a leg of a race. So that's the only, I can't. Oh,
That
foot!
is true.
A foot!
A foot.
Oh,
Yes. Yeah, foot.
I didn't look at the chat for the record. I
Okay.
didn't move anything, so.
All right. Next, what a carpenter uses.
Your nail?
Nails. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
A pile of excess.
I know this is compelling viewing for everyone.
Some
right
people
now.
are saying that hands and cubits would have also been acceptable for the
Well,
second
hand
question.
maybe, but cubit isn't a body part. So, a pile of excess.
Ah, yes, the chat got it.
Oh my goodness, I'm not looking.
The body part and the answer are not spelled the same.
Oh, that doesn't. I mean, I would still. I don't know if I'm going to get this one. I don't want to make everybody wait and watch me think.
So I saw Sarah O was the first one to get it. The answer is waste. And then some people complain that this one is cheating.
Oh, yeah, that one I don't think I was going to get to.
Then you're going to love the rest of them, folks. Okay, 3 more. Resembles a rabbit.
Hair.
There you go. Excellent. What soldiers carry?
Arms.
There you go. And last but not least, what you call yourself.
Eye.
Yeah. All right. Well done. You only got stuck on one of those.
Yeah.
And I think they said if you get 4 out of 7, you'd get the point. So
well, then I am successful.
I think you've got that. So that is Brain Games. Well done, Crystal, and well done, chat. You did a very nice job there.
For sure. Thanks, chat.
So one thing that when we were talking about what we wanted to chat about today, especially after Dice Tower West, we were just at what you have to consider, even though it is a new convention, that is a big con. I think anytime you've got 1,000 people, that is a big con. What I was at this past weekend was a much smaller local convention. It's been going for 31 years. It's called ConCon in Stamford, Connecticut. And it's a few hundred people. It's one hotel with some ballrooms, and although we've been expanding into just about every space the hotel will let us use, it's really a very intimate local affair. And what I wanted to chat about was what makes those appealing. You know, there's all this talk about the big ones, the Gen Cons, the Origins, the Dice Tower Wests. And there's all this focus put on the ones that you have to usually travel for. You have a bit of an exception, Crystal, because your local con was Dice Tower West this year. But there's a lot to enjoy at the local level as well. And it's a great starter con. My first convention was ConCon. and going to that one for just one day. I just showed up on a Saturday. Let's see what this whole convention thing is about, and had such a great time. I have been going to every single one since, and now I teach games there. And as I mentioned, I brought my kids, so now it's much more of a family experience. It's less about me getting to play new games than it is about making sure that they have a good time. And as somebody, I threw this out on Twitter, like what do you enjoy about local conventions? And at least one person said that it offers an opportunity to give their children some gaming experience and also some socialization. You can let them make some friends and go play a game across the room without worrying that they're going to get lost in a sea of people like at Gen Con or Origins. um you can know that the people in this room are going to watch out for them as long as they're behaving themselves and learning the etiquette of the room, that they can be at a table and set up a game and play with their friends, and you can be 3 tables over and know that things are still okie dokie. Something I really appreciate. So, what small conventions have you been to, Crystal?
So I've been to almost entirely small conventions for the most part. And obviously, kind of like you said at the beginning, small is relative, because if you compared Dice Tower West to Gen Con or Essen, Dice Tower West is very small. But truthfully, Dice Tower West isn't small. And I've been to much smaller conventions. So my very first board game convention was actually the very first MeepleCon, which is the convention that turned into Dice Tower West this year. So MeepleCon, the very first year, would have been in 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18. No, it would have been 2015, because this was the 5th year, technically. One-day event the first year, and it was only 200 people. They were expecting 100 and got 200, even only having planned it 2 months in advance. And then I've also been to STG Con, which is in St. George, Utah. And that one I've only been to once. And the only reason for that is because it's the same weekend as Gen Con and the Star Trek convention as well. Although I think that's really cool that they do that. They're not trying, obviously, to compete with Gen Con, but for people that are over here on the West Coast that don't want to travel to a larger convention, it gives them something to do that weekend. So instead of just doing Gen Cant at home, you can go to the smaller convention. And I want to say their attendance was probably around 200, 250-ish the year that I went as well. And then as part of my podcast, Ambi and I kind of, with Ambi's friends in San Francisco, hosted BlitzCon last year and the year before. We're not doing it this year just because we're really busy in general. Her friends are still hosting it. It's just called it has a different name now. But we had 50 people the first year, and I don't remember how many we had last year. I want to say about 100. But yeah, definitely small. So I've been to quite a few, I guess, smaller conventions. I love them because, especially now that I am a board game content creator, I generally feel like I should try to play games with as many people as I can. Being a representative of the Dice Tower especially, I want to make sure that if there are people who would like to play a game with me, that they have the opportunity to do so. At a small convention, though, where there's less people total, sometimes you sit down and you play a game with someone, and even if you didn't know them previously, you're like, wow, it was really fun to play a game with you. And I want to play another game with you. What else do you like? What else do you want to show me? What else can you teach me? What can I teach you? And you have more opportunities to do that, I think, when there are less people in general to play games with. So you don't have that pressure to play with lots of different people. And I think the pressure that happens as a result of larger conventions socially is not as bad for many people at a smaller convention. You don't have giant crowds of people that you have to deal with. So people that have stress and anxiety in large group settings, I think, will have an easier time coming to a smaller convention. I know of one person in particular who her first convention was our first year of BlitzCon. And she told me after the fact that, she was really not sure if she wanted to come because she'd never been to a convention before and she was a little bit nervous and a little bit shy. But she came and she had a really awesome time, and we loved playing games with her. So that was really neat. And I don't want to name her, obviously, because in case she doesn't want that to be public, but she's a wonderful person. And I've now gotten to play games with her at different events in other places because she started traveling a little bit. So I think a small convention, if you're kind of scared to jump into conventions as a whole, a small local convention is a great way to dip your toe into the water. Especially like if you bring a friend with you, so you kind of have that touch point of somebody that you're familiar with. But then, you can go meet new people and play new games and just kind of enjoy yourself without as much of the stress.
Yeah, I like going to this event year after year and getting to see the regulars show up. It's like a family reunion. And even if I don't get to play a game with certain people in any particular event, I at least get to go say hi and see how they're doing. And ConCon in Stamford brings in people from New York City, New Jersey. And so I get to see all these area gamers that I don't necessarily get to interact with at the big cons and really get grounded into the locals. I threw this question out on Twitter. What does a local convention do, or what does your local convention do that the big ones, the mega cons, aren't able to do? And Joe, I'm not going to give his last name, said that the cons, these tend to be cheaper, and that there's more emphasis on playing versus buying. You know more people at the small con. You can find them more easily at the local cons. And Christopher said that one con that he was at recently had organizations that helped a local community and local charities. And while big conventions have charity events as well and can help out and make a lot of difference, the big conventions or the close to home conventions can make a greater impact, especially when you can see the work right there in your local community. We had at ConCon an American Heart Association benefit, an auction, game auction. And it because one of the senior staff of the convention had died of a heart attack. And so in memorial, they do this every year to raise money for the American Heart Association, which is great. But it is a piece of flavor that you don't find in any other local event that I've attended.
That's really neat. I really like when you can tie something meaningful into a fun event. I think that's why a lot of people in the board gaming community have latched on to Extra Life, the organization that raises money for, is it Children's Miracle Network? I'm going to get this wrong. I think it's Children's Miracle Network. Yes, and Children's Miracle Network hospitals. And I've done Extra Life events here in Las Vegas, small ones, like sometimes at my house for just like a large group of my friends, or at a local tabletop game cafe. And there was one year where I said if I raised a certain amount of money, I would wear an inflatable dinosaur costume. I hit that amount of money. I played board games. I played Happy Salmon in an inflatable dinosaur costume. I have video of this. I can find it on Twitter and retweet it maybe, but it was amazing. Your face.
Wow.
Right. Yeah. Well, it was funny because North Star Games actually retweeted it after the fact. But yeah, I just, again, I said this earlier, I don't mind embarrassing myself, especially if it's for a good cause. Like, if you want to raise money for charity and you need someone to do something silly, I'm all about it. Assuming that I'm putting some good into the world, give me the dinosaur costume, give me whatever. I don't care. I'm very comfortable with who I am and what costumes I put on myself. I wore my Kigurumi. Oh, you didn't get to see it because I only wore it on the last day. I wore my Kigurumi the last day of Dice Tower West. We had not organized a Kigurumi thing, but two other people brought theirs as well, Eric and Amber Davia. So the three of us were wearing our Kigurumis on Sunday of the convention. And I told Tom, I think I'm going to make this a thing for all Dice Tower conventions and cruises going forward. We're going to have a Kigurumi day because, I mean, here's the thing. Granite Game Summit, which was over on the East Coast at the same time as Dice Tower West.
Yes.
Sounds like the most lovely event in the whole world, and I desperately wish I could go to it. And they have something called Formal Fridays, where everyone gets dressed up in very fancy clothes on Friday. And I think that's a really cool idea. But I also recognize that if I were to wear like a sequin dress, playing board games in that would not be so comfortable. Is very comfortable. So while I think the Formal Friday idea is awesome, I think I'm going to maybe shoot for something a little more cozy at the events I'm a part of.
I have not been to Granite Game Summit. I've been invited several times. Of course, now that if it's going to be adjacent to Dice Tower West, that's going to make it difficult. But I have hung out with a lot of the people that are there and run the event. Total Con in Massachusetts is another one that I haven't been to in a few years, but Tom and I used to go and really have enjoyed that event as well. And a lot of the people from Granite Game Summit come to that event and get to hang out and play games. So I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, no, I've desperately wanted to go to Granite Game Summit for the past few years, and it's literally always been either right next to or at the same time as Dice Tower West. The dates are not the same next year. I don't remember how far removed they are, but I want to say it's even more than a week. I want to say there's at least a couple of weeks that separate the two conventions next year. The problem for me is New Hampshire is really, really far from Las Vegas. All this wonderful stuff happening on the East Coast, and I just can't get there.
It's tough, which is why, I mean, a lot of people that we ran into at Dice Tower West were so happy that there was a West Coast convention that they could attend. A lot of, not really locals. I love, living in Connecticut for me. My space dilation is messed up because you can get pretty much anywhere in the state of Connecticut in about an hour. And so people would say, oh, yeah, it was only a 6-hour drive to get here. No biggie. It was only 12 hours. This is practically a local convention for me. It's like, wait, what? So just my perspective. That's me. That's my problem. I get it.
Yeah. Nevada is a big state. People are like, oh, yeah, I'm from Reno. And I'm like, oh, man, that's a long way from here. That's literally like a 9-hour drive from Las Vegas.
Yes. So the chat's been bubbling with a few items that their local conventions have done, although a few pitfalls as well. I saw one comment that said that the game show, the host showed up drunk, which was interesting. I have found that there's usually a little more alcohol around at these local conventions because they're usually held in a hotel. There's a hotel bar like adjacent to the convention. In most cases, that's not really an issue, but it does tend to be maybe a little bit more of a party atmosphere. I did have to teach Food Chain Magnate once in a late night slot to players who maybe couldn't concentrate as much because they had been having fun already. They were lovely and nice and kind, and but it was difficult getting some of these splatter rules across when they were having more trouble than normal focusing.
It is an interesting thing, and it's funny because I've lived here for 11 years now. It's so just like not even in my head anymore. But I do get that when people come to Las Vegas, it is that whole mentality of, oh, let loose, do the things that I wouldn't normally do, relax, have a good time, all of that. Like for me, it's I don't do the things that are typical Vegas anymore. I don't drink much at all. I almost never gamble at all. And maybe that's just because I'm getting older. I don't know. But it's just funny to hear people come and they're like, oh, yeah, it's Vegas. We should go out at like 2 a.m. And I'm like, no, I'm going to be sleeping.
So really, my point in this whole discussion is, it's easy to feel bad sometimes when you hear about all these other mega cons and big events, especially when certain yahoos just won't shut up about it. All these events. But there is an event near you. If I had the money and the time, I could visit a game convention every weekend of the year. It's somewhere. There is somewhere an event happening. The con event happens every year, but then there's 6 months later, there's a fall con run by the same people. So every 6 months, we have a local convention here in Connecticut. Anywhere you live, there is something. A few people that have thrown together an event in a hotel, and you could easily do the same thing if there isn't one near you. So it is a great alternative. Something you can do just for a weekend without having to drive very far. It's worth looking and worth exploring if you haven't been to one.
Absolutely. And that's how BlitzCon started. It wasn't that there were no conventions, but at the time, KublaCon in the Bay Area had kind of gotten to a point where there wasn't a lot of open gaming space. And so Ambi and her friends were like, we want to have a convention where we can just sit around and play games. And so that's why BlitzCon was born originally, is we just wanted to get a bunch of people together to sit around and play games. And yeah, I think especially if you live in an area that's potentially less populated, but if you can connect with some people online through, Board Game Geek or meetup.com or Facebook, get some, establish a thing, talk to a hotel. If it's a hotel that isn't selling event space normally, the space will be cheaper than you probably imagine to rent out. And then have everybody bring some games from their own collection and be willing to share them. And all of a sudden you've got a game library. You don't even have to have a dedicated game library. If you have some generous people who are just willing to share, have them put their name in on a sticky note in the top of the box so people know who to return it to, and boom. And that's a great way to start something, and who knows, it could turn into something big someday too.
Yeah. So we have a few more minutes before we want to sign off for the day. If there's any questions you'd like to throw our direction, you can send those to us in the chat. Anything you want to ask about Dice Tower West, about ConCon, or any other small conventions, or anything really, let us know, and we'd be happy to.
Not anything. I haven't talked about it in a long time, for the record. And there have been, 9 episodes so far of season 2. So.
You want to talk about Discovery. I see. I mean, I wouldn't mind talking about Discovery.
I'm not going to spoil anything for anybody. Don't worry.
It's been excellent. And it's been really good. And very hard to get through the week. Because, I think I've explained this. I watched season 1 as a binge. I joined the bandwagon late, based partially on your praise, Crystal, and just went nuts on season 1, watching 2 or 3 episodes a day, and suddenly now it's every week. And is it Thursday yet? I really want it to be Thursday.
And it was very funny because during Dice Tower West, we had a show on Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific time in Las Vegas. And Star Trek Discovery releases at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. So I showed up to help out at the live show, and Eric comes up to me and he's like, so have you watched it yet? And I was like, wait, what? No, I've been, working and playing games and hanging out with people. And he was like, oh yeah, I already watched it. And I was like, I didn't get to watch it until I think it was 1 a.m. Saturday night, Friday night into Saturday or something. It was more than 24 hours after it released that I finally watched it. And I was fully dying that whole time, having not seen it yet.
Yes. I hadn't actually intended to watch the episode at the time. I just went to head to the room and lie down for a little bit before our live shows that evening. And then I got the little ping on the phone that said the episode was live. And I said, I think I have time for this, and it'll make Crystal so mad.
It did. It very much did. So good.
I know it had to be driving you crazy right now, just because you are such a fan, and you had talked about maybe sneaking away to watch the episode, but you lose track of time when you're in convention world. Yes. Also, the Orville. I am almost caught up with the Orville, and it has been stellar this season. Really good stuff. A very different show from Discovery, but I've really enjoyed where they're going too. And so that one, if you've walked away from it, I think it's worth exploring again, because
I technically have not watched any of the Orville.
Mm.
Seth MacFarlane has done some good stuff. He's also done some slightly problematic stuff in the past. I'm not
true.
Judging, but his stuff in general, I kind of take with a grain of salt at this point. So I kind of just wanted the Orville to exist for a little while. I will probably watch it at some point, but I have not seen any of it at this point.
Yeah. Let's see, a couple of questions. Any fun Kickstarters that you are currently backing? I just backed the Ocean Rescue Kickstarter that went live today. Suzanne and Mandy talked about this in the latest episode of the Dice Tower, which is out now, and it's a cooperative game about saving the ocean, and it's got
the dead whale token that everyone keeps talking about, right?
It does.
Heartbreaking.
It does have a dead whale token, a dead shark. I think it's if you can bring the shark to life, but if the the shark eats too much garbage, it will die. But anyway, it's got cartoony artwork. It's cooperative. It's one I can play with my kids. It's got a lovely theme and message. It seemed like one that we wanted to go with. Speaking of Kickstarters, at ConCon, we played a game called Battle Rollers that is coming to Kickstarter months from now. It's not out yet. And it's minis. It's like mini tactical battle stuff, but they had all these 3D printed miniatures. It has little pilot people that then can hop inside large mechs and move around and fight. And my son got drawn into this demo area. He's like, "Can I play this game?" And the guy's like, "Sure. Can your dad play too?" That would be great, because knowing that dad's the one that would have the money to buy it.
Right.
And my son adored his play of this game, and he's asked several times in the last few days, "Dad, when that game comes on Kickstarter, can we maybe buy it?"
Oh.
I'm like, "Well, I kind of need to know how much it's going to cost, buddy." "Well, what if I throw in some money? Then can we buy it?" I'm like, "Well,
Oh my
let's see what it costs first. It might be $200. I don't know." And so anyway, that's where he is. That's his relationship with Kickstarter right now.
So the ones that I've actively backed I don't have any that are running currently, but I have a lot that are running currently that I have hit the little heart button on that I am probably going to pull the trigger on and haven't yet. And so let's see how many, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different ones that are running currently. So the expansion for Root, I got to play Root for the first time at Dice Tower West, and I did not have any idea if I was going to like it or not. I could have seen that going any number of directions, and I loved it, like way more than I expected to. So of course now I'm like, oh, well, I could get the expansions and the base game all together, but of course that's a lot of money. So we'll see. Roland Wright, the Roland Wright game is on Kickstarter right now. There's a fail faster playtesting journal that's on Kickstarter right now for game designers. And since I have game design aspirations and have designed a couple little games, that's something that interests me. Gil Hova's High Rise is on Kickstarter right now. Mm-hmm. And the graphic novel adventures season 2 from Van Ryder Games is also on Kickstarter right now. And that one, I was actually hoping for a pledge level that would include the first set and the second set, because I don't have any of them. And they didn't do that. They're like, well, the first set's available on our website. And you'd think I would want to do that because it would get them to me faster, but somehow buying them all together seems more appealing. I
haven't checked out the graphic novel Kickstarter. Does it include the new cooperative like 4-book one? Is that part of the set?
So there's 5 books total in this campaign. And let's see, there's mystery, Sherlock, 2 different Sherlock Holmes ones, one that's Sherlock Holmes and Moriarty, one that's just Sherlock Holmes with some other subtitle. And then there's 2 pirates based or themed ones. So it's funny because Sherlock Holmes as a theme, I don't dislike it, but it doesn't do a lot for me. Pirates are one of my least favorite themes. So I think that might be what's kind of making me hesitate here. The first set actually had themes that interested me more, but I didn't get to those when they were on Kickstarter. But honestly, the idea of these books is something that I like so much. I love choose your own adventure style games. And the graphic novel aspect of these, I think, makes them really unique. So chances are I might end up backing them anyway. But yeah, there's a lot of good stuff on Kickstarter right now.
Yeah, the initial set, I think I've shown off here on this program. I really enjoyed them, but they showed me this set, and I'm sorry, I don't know the name of it.
Oh, you're talking about the kids ones, right?
The kids one, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's not part of this Kickstarter, but I have heard of those. Where like it's 4 kids all playing together, right?
Yes,
okay.
And it's 4 different books, so you will be looking at the same scene. So you might be looking at it in a room, and everybody's got basically the same panel, but each player has different things that they can focus on. One player who's good at jumping might see a pot that is on a high shelf and have a number associated with that they can turn to in their book. But another player might see that pot, but there's no number associated with it, so they can't interact with that object. So each player can explore the scene in a different way, and I find that fascinating. So I absolutely want that version.
Adults too, because I mean, I'll play the kid one. Don't get me wrong, but I would like maybe a more darker theme, but with adults, like that would be kind of interesting.
Speaking of interesting books and current Kickstarters, The Maze of Games is back on Kickstarter right now. This is Mike Selinker's puzzle project. It's the original is a big book of puzzles that are actually out of order. So you solve one puzzle. It's got a narrative too, and you solve one puzzle that tells you to turn to a different page elsewhere in the book, and you have to solve that puzzle that leads you elsewhere. And the whole thing is just it's a maze of games, and it took 3 years for someone to solve the whole thing. Like they wouldn't put out a clue book or anything because they wanted people to solve it on their own. Finally, somebody did, and so now they've released a clue book, and it's part of this current Kickstarter. I have yet to experience this. I kind of want to jump in, but it's $99 to get the book and all of the extras and clue books and audio programs and Will Wheaton narration and all this stuff. Which is the level I would want to jump in on, but I'm afraid I'm going to open this and get stuck on page 3 and be like, and then I have a really expensive paperweight.
Yeah, I think I have those fears of those kinds of things too. Like, I know I'm a very smart person, but yeah, when you get stuck, it can be really frustrating.
Yeah. Anything else we want to answer while we're here?
Let's see. I'm going to scroll back up and make sure we didn't miss anything. Someone asked if we got the DS9 documentary. That hasn't been formally released yet. It was supposed to be released fall of this previous year, and they did do a screening party for it, but it wasn't completely complete yet because they're actually remastering some of the DS9 footage to be in HD. So DS9 will never fully be released in HD, which bums me out hard, but the people making the documentary are remastering some of the content for the documentary. Far Beyond the Stars? No, that's the name of the an episode. What's the name of the documentary? Maybe that is it. I don't remember, but I don't think it's out yet. I didn't back it, but I want it whenever it's available.
I
got
like Crusoe Crew is the name of the novel adventure.
Okay, cool. Let's see. Jeff asked, Crystal, as a gamer who lives in Vegas, do you go to the casinos often, or do you find those casino games boring compared to hobby board games? I originally came to Vegas because I worked in the poker industry, and I used to play poker as well, not at a professional level, but I was okay. And I played online a lot back before 2008, when online poker in the United States got shut down for the most part. But I don't play casino games almost at all anymore. I was a blackjack dealer when I lived in Kansas City for a little while post-college because I graduated at a horrible time to get a job. And I know blackjack inside and out as a result of having dealt the game. But there's not a lot of appeal for me in gambling, only because I know that it's a losing venture. Like, absolutely, you can play a game and win a bunch of money, but I would rather spend my money on a board game and have some fun with friends. I will once in a great while, I'll drop $20 in a penny slot if I'm like waiting for a restaurant reservation at a casino or something like that. But I never seek out gambling anymore. So hopefully that answers your question. Let's see. I think we caught most of the big questions. I love that the chat is just kind of hanging out and talking with each other.
Yes, they do that.
It's the best.
What You Leave Behind is the DS9 documentary.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Far Beyond the Stars is just a really good episode of DS9 that obviously popped in my head very quickly.
I have not rewatched DS9 since it aired, which would have been while I was in college. Yeah, that's when the finale season aired, was somewhere like 99, 2000, something like that. I have not seen it since.
It is a delight upon rewatch. There are a lot of aspects of it that I didn't appreciate when I was younger that I very much love now. And some of the things that bothered me when I was younger are my favorite parts now. But I mean, there's still some bad eggs in there. But as far as like the series go, I think DS9 has less bad episodes than most of the other series.
I feel like I would appreciate it more watching it now. There's probably a lot to unpack there that I didn't necessarily catch on first viewing. And I think I even stepped away for a season or so and then came back when I knew that they were coming close to ending. So it's possible I think I missed the whole Dominion War.
Which is kind of a big part of it.
Yeah, it's fine.
And what's funny is watching it now, like this was like just a couple of years ago was the first time I'd watched all of it in its entirety from front to back. I'd seen a bunch of episodes when I was younger, but never really like got the whole story. And as I was watching it, I was like, oh, I can definitely see how Ronald D. Moore was like cutting his storytelling chops working on DS9. And then when he moved over to the new sci-fi Battlestar Galactica, he took that same kind of idea and just like took it to 11. So yeah. There are a lot of parallels between the new BSG and DS9 because Ronald D. Moore was a major proponent of the stories of both of those shows.
Yeah. Jeff wants to see your top 5. Get that out of my face items.
It would definitely be different, I think, than some of the other people's get that out of my face. Because someone, like, as I was listening to the episode, I don't remember whether it was Tom or Z, somebody definitely mentioned roll and move as a mechanism. And while I do agree to a certain point, every single person that I've taught the McDonald's game to loves it. And while the roll and move part of it isn't what makes it awesome, it is a part of the game. So it's hard for me to say that I want to get roll and move out of my face when there are brilliant games that use a roll and move mechanism as part of their game. So
yes. I mean, the issue is when it is when it's a bottleneck in your, it was Sam that was going on a rant about it. When you roll the die and you only get to do one thing and then the next person gets to do 6 things, that's a problem.
That's super frustrating. And I've definitely had that moment. Like a few years back, my friends broke out Clue just to like be like, oh, we haven't played this since we were kids. Let's play it. And then if you roll a 1 and you can only move 1 space on that giant board, you're just like, ow, so fun.
Pretty boring.
Also, if you're like me, you get to like near the end of the game of Clue and you have all of these notes written down and you're like, oh yeah, I think I've got this figured out. Okay, it's so-and-so with so-and-so in the so-and-so. And nope, all of that is wrong. Literally all of it. I am very bad at that type of game. Clue, Incognito does a similar thing. I'm horrible at those games.
Well, we should probably wrap things up, Crystal. The chat is continuing to talk amongst themselves, but we should move on to our evenings, I think.
I think that sounds lovely. And it was so great to see you and talk with you again post Dice Tower West. And I'm trying to think of the next time we'll actually see each other in person. I don't know if I'll see you before Gen Con, actually. But, oh no, Dice Tower Con in July.
Dice Tower Con, yep. That's
a thing that definitely exists.
It does.
That'll be fun.
I think that's actually my next major event entirely. I'm free for a little while since Origins is not on my radar this time. I'm going to miss Origins. I really enjoy that convention, but I do appreciate a little bit more time to get some work done. I'm looking at my production calendar right now, and I got to prep some books and get some work done. But I will see you at Dice Tower Con in Orlando, where it's nice and warm in July. It'll be a blast.
So hot, so humid.
And of course, I'll see you again in 2 weeks when we do another one of these.
Absolutely. So thank you, chat, for joining us. We always appreciate you all being willing to interact with us and each other during the show. And make sure you click that thumbs up button right below the video if you enjoy the show, because that helps other people see it in their feeds on YouTube.
So until next time, I'm Eric Summerer.
I'm Crystal Pisano.
And you've been watching Dice Tower Tonight. Thanks for watching. Promotional consideration has been provided by game publishers in the form of review copies of games. Crystal and I will see you in 2 weeks for another installment. Our show is supported by viewers like you. Thank you. Dice Tower Tonight is produced by Crystal and me with assistance from Tom Vassell, Roy Cannaday, and Rob Searing. Our next step, after realizing we wrote a whole term paper on Anne Hathaway the actor rather than Anne Hathaway the wife of William Shakespeare, provided by Project Delete. Timothy Pinkham composed our theme, and hosting is provided by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games at great prices at coolstuffinc.com. Give us your feedback on the Dice Tower Guild at Board Game Geek on Facebook or Twitter, or by emailing us at dicetower@gmail.com. And don't forget to visit the other shows in the Dice Tower Network. Find something new at dicetowernetwork.com. Until next time, from all of us at the Dice Tower, including the dogs, have fun gaming.
I know. I love that the dogs waited until the end of the episode to start barking. Thanks, Sterling. We appreciate that you held off.
It's our live studio audience.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.